Hello and welcome to the first Fishing Planet video for 2021. I've decided to start going through a few of the missions, and I'll be doing it on my usual sort of exploration type basis rather than a quick how-to guide. So I'm starting with the Trophy Trout 1 spinner lure, and basically you need to get 3 fish, and the first is the Colorado Golden at Rocky, and you can see my setup there. It's the fabulous Jig Winner 200, which is probably my favourite spinning rod. It's great for trout, really good, and you can see the rest of the setup on that previous screen. I'm actually doing this on my Microsoft account, and I have very limited spinners, nano spinners and little spinners for trout. I've only got 2, I think, and on my Steam account I've literally got about 20, including some very good X series ones, so it would be probably easier to do on that account, but I thought I'd sort of make this video for really any level, as long as you can get to the places that are needed to get the fish, as it were. So, as I said, this is not a quick whiz through showing you each fish caught. It's about a quarter of an hour or so video, and as you can see, if you know Rocky, there are 2 slots there, or 2 spots, and I'm on the right hand one at the moment as you look out to the water. This is the magic spot for this side, and you can float fish on it, you can bottom fish, and you can obviously spin as well. And really the nano spinners are the way to go here. For various reasons you might want to think about the barbless versions. One of the reasons is that it's a requirement of some of the competitions. I think all of the competitions, I'm just trying to think, there's Old Bucks, which is here, and I'm pretty sure that you have to have a barbless hook for that, whether it's float fishing or spinning. But the other good reason for using barbless hooks or barbless tackle, but certainly barbless hooks in general, is you get something like 25% or 30% extra XP. So here's a nice fish, probably a cutthroat, trophy cutthroat. This probably took the longest of the 3 to get, and there are various spots. There's a spot on the far side about 40 meters away, so in the same line that I just cast, and you usually would fish to that one from the other spawn point or starting point, but you can fish right across this pool, and it's a deep pool because it's in the mountains, in the Colorado mountains, I guess, and you can put the either bottom rod, or if you're spinning like we are, you can put it right in the middle and let it sink right down to the bottom. It does take quite a while, but I've had a lot of success with the Colorado Golden Trout over the years, from the middle of the pond and from the point on the right hand side we were just fishing at a minute ago. So this is going about as far as this rig will go, which is about 38 meters, and there are 2 techniques I was using here. One is to go right to the bottom and then just do a stop and go, and let it sort of come through the water at a certain height. The other is to let it drop to the bottom and then go to speed 1 and just reel in for quite a time, until either you get a bite, or if it gets too high in the water, just let it then drop again. So it's a very sort of elongated version of a stop and go, and that worked really well here. On this session I got a couple of nice rainbows. You can get up to a 2 kilo rainbow here, and with it being January the 2nd, the missions are still going on for Christmas, and the snow hunter, where you have to collect the snow, is still going. So on both my accounts I'm doing that to get the cap, and this is one of the locations with the snow, so this works out really well, because for these 3 missions you need to travel to Rocky, which is where we're at the moment, then Falcon, and then actually anyway you can catch a 7 kilo trout, but by far and away the easiest for that is white moose, and those 3 locations all have the snow piles, so that's helped with that mission for me today as well. So you can see I'm using the second method there, where I put it on 1 speed and then just dragged up from the bottom, and very, very slowly, and then just let it go and drop. And you've got to be ready with the new biting system, or newish biting system, for it to just lull and then take it. But there you go, there is the Colorado Golden. It's a trophy of about 0.9, and the requirement was 0.7 of a kilo, so that's got us on our way and ticked off one of the boxes. So next we are going to be heading over to Falcon Lake, and there we're going to be fishing for the rainbow trout. So here we are at Falcon, and you can see I've got a setup there, which is a rod I don't use very much at all, the Lockie, and I've also still got the jig winner there as well. So the jig winner's got exactly the same setup on it, and the Lockie has got a bit more oomph to it, so it's got rating up to about 9 or so. It's a bit overkill for this, but the line is fluoro 4, which is about 9 kilos. And you can see the lure I'm using, I call it the rainbow lure, which is not a good word for it, because there's another lure I use which I also call the rainbow lure, but this is a great lure in all its shapes and sizes. You can see the colour, the sort of green band, and then the sort of spectrum effect on it. Where I'm fishing at the moment is one good spot for trout here. You do tend to get more brown trout, so we're going in between the gap between the rock and the wood pile on the right hand side, and it's a great spot, particularly if you use a jig head, probably on a 2 or a 3 aught hook, and a X series nymph, or whatever nymph you've got. Really good for brown trout there. But I'm going to just go over to another spot which is really good for rainbow, and basically you just aim at those trees on the about halfway across that tree line and let it sink, which you do actually need to let it sink, and that does take a little while because this isn't a very heavy lure, so you can always let line out like I have done there, to let it get to the bottom. And when it gets to the bottom, you're just looking to do again the same sort of technique, either a stop and go like we're doing there at 2 speed or 1 speed. You're probably going to need 2 speed with this weight and depth, or you can use the other technique that I mentioned, just pulling up through the water at either 1 or 2 speed straight. There was a take, or at least a tap, and there we go, we're straight in. So this I got really lucky on this one, because I certainly fished for 20 minutes at the other location at Rocky The problem there is that the Colorado is rarer than the other two, the cutthroat and the rainbow, at that location. But I was rather lucky here and got this rainbow trout, and that was a uni of 3.2 kilos. So the trout, I think, are the best rendered fish or created fish on this whole simulator. I think the trout fishing is the most realistic in general, and the way the fish are done, I think, is just fantastic. Really, really good. So I like fishing at Rocky and here at Falcon. Now for the last one, I immediately thought of lake trout at White Moose Lake. I would need to check St. Croix's figures. I have caught some big trout at St. Croix, but I don't think they go to 7 kilo. I think they go to 4 or 5 maybe. I haven't done I think it's the Size Matters competition for quite a while, but I don't believe they go over 4, so I decided to come here to White Moose, where of course the lake trout go right up to 20. And you can see I've got the Rivtex Use with a Thunderspin reel there and some fairly heavy braid, and it must be a spinner, so that's one thing I meant to mention at the beginning. You must equip a spinner. I would normally have used 3 different items in these locations. I would have used a narrow spoon, the purple one at Rocky, but that wouldn't qualify for this mission. I would have used a jig head with a X-Series nymph at Falcon for the rainbow trout, and I would have used probably a spoon, the heavy red 42 kilogram spoon here, but otherwise fished in the same way in the 3 places. But you must equip a spinner as part of this, the rules of this mission. So this is a lake trout coming in. You can see from the power bars on the right hand side, this is not anything like big enough. It's probably a 4 or something like that, maybe a 5. It's certainly not over 7. You tend to go from 4 and then it jumps up to 9, and then it jumps up to sort of 12ish, 11, 12, and then you get some 14s and 15s, and then you get, if you're lucky, you get a 20. So spinning, if you're at this location and you haven't done it much before, you want to get it out to about 60 meters, as I've done there, and let it drop through the water. You can give it a twitch on speed 3 about halfway down, or even as it enters the water. Sometimes you'll get one there, particularly with that spoon that I mentioned, but otherwise you want to just let it get to the bottom and give it a stop and go at speed 3 and try and get those 3 bars. You see these stop and go bars. I tend to find that this is one of the locations where that tends to make more of a difference than in other locations. So if you can get the 3 bars, I'm not doing a very good job of it there, as you can see. I'm getting 2. There we go, there's the 3 bars. But you can do that all the way in, and you will get the uni lake trout all the way in to about 15 meters away. Again, it's very deep here, so when you've got 15 meters of line out, you're really quite close because it's so deep. So it's really a case of going along that line. And another good point to aim for is the point of that mountain on the right hand side, not the big one obviously on the extreme right, but the one that's above my hand in the picture. If you aim out in line with that, you can often be quite lucky, but otherwise it's a case of just going straight down this line, sort of parallel with the cliff face. If you go too close to the cliff face, it will land on the bottom very quickly because it's much more shallow obviously, but then it drops off quite steeply. So this is another lake trout, and again it's probably 4 kilos. The other thing you'll get here is the splake, and the uni is about 7 kilos from memory, 7 or 8 kilos, something like that, and that I think is possibly in the char trophy mission. Can't really remember, but that's quite a good fish to catch. So you're very likely to get that within any sort of 1 hour period or so, you're going to get hopefully the uni lake trout, but you'll also get the uni splake as well. And you can get these fish in other places here, but this has always been the best place that I have found. And if you watch any of the YouTubers, you'll find this is the key area they hit on for spinning. With bottom fishing, it tends to be more in the middle for me. I tend to go off to the right of the picture and only about 30 meters out, and just leave some sleeper rods there. So normally if I was doing this, I'd have a couple of sleeper rods, some sort of fairly heavy feeder bottom rods there. And as you can see, I got very lucky there because that was a very late take with a 20 kilo lake trout, and that finishes our mission. So we get 2,000 for credits for the fish, which is very nice. So a trip here will usually pay for itself very quickly. Probably half an hour real time. You should be able to pay for a trip if you've got 4 lines out. And in this case, we've got the extra bonus of the 2,800 credits, the 3 bait coins. We get a trophy bullet spinner of the type we've just been using to actually catch the fish. And as you can see, I've just completed this mission on my other account, so I'm certainly not going to be doing it on this one. But I will be going off to get my snow before I leave here for the snow holidays mission. So yeah, there we go. That's that mission really in not much of a nutshell. And as always, please like and subscribe, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video, and Happy New Year.